Welcome back to the video, ladies and gentlemen. Today I'm going to be watching, listening, and learning from Marty Friedman from the YouTube video Marty Friedman from Megadeth talks about playing with a purpose. I will link it right up here for anyone who wants to watch again on their own separate time. I don't know what this video is about or if it's a lesson, but hopefully it'll teach us about Marty Friedman's intricate playing. I've got a guitar in my hand because maybe there is something that I'll be able to apply to my own playing instantaneously, and that won't require me sitting down and studying the instrument for hours, which I still think is fun. But without further ado, let's get into the video. Skadoosh.
Marty, what are you practicing now when you're writing? Like, tell me what you do typically? Do you do much practicing? If you're going to sit down to play the guitar, are you going to write a song? Do you have like a purposeful practice, or is there something you warm up with? Or do you really only sit down and work on writing things?
Yeah, I pretty much only sit down with a purpose.
Yeah.
A purpose to play. So like right now I'm on tour, so I was just joking with my other guitar player. It's like we're on tour, but we're playing less guitar than we ever do normally.
Right.
You know what I mean?
I do.
So we play every night, and for that time I'm playing guitar. The rest of the day you don't see a guitar.
Right.
And so it's kind of weird because you get good at what you're doing, and then you kind of like other things kind of, you don't get rusty, but like you're not at the peak. It's say, for example, if you're recording an album,
yeah,
and you're trying a million different solos and you're working on parts, that's when you're really in the game on your guitar.
right.
But when you're on tour, you're nailing the show, man. The show could not be better. But like sometimes the ideas are not necessarily as rad as when you're like really in solo critical zone. So there's always a purpose.
When you're sitting down and working on something for a solo record, are you putting stuff down, recording it? Are you putting stuff on your phone? Just ideas. How do you work? How do you usually work on
Everything.
writing?
I make millions of demos. First idea on the phone, I'll maybe sing it on there. If there's a guitar, I'll play it.
Yep.
And then I'll review them later. And you just have to have themes. If you know my music, it's all themes and how to like get people to invest their hearts in that theme. How do you do that with instrumental music? But then you listen to something like West Side Story, and of course there's lyrics and vocals, but those themes are bolstered by absolutely the coolest arrangements in the world. Not that I'm trying to do anything as ambitious as that, but I try to make melodies memorable like that. So how do I actually do it? I start by making a demo, and then I try it in a different key, and then I try it with different mods, and then I try to put a solo section in and build on it, as long as I have a cool melody to start with. So like, for example, I've got this song. I'll start with a theme, and that type of melody.
Yep.
So if that's the melody, okay, I'm gonna do this like 3 times in the song probably or more, but how do I make it interesting? I'm right. Well, without the chords behind it, you can't really tell what's going on, but like, so I start off in F sharp, right? Same thing again. So I've resolved this long melody. There's like a lot of chords, like I told you in the Japanese song behind it.
Yeah.
So then, okay, I'm in F sharp, all right? Okay, I've been in F sharp for a long time. So let's start with a key mod there. So like, I've resolved on the root. See what I'm saying? So like I went to. So it's really basic cliche chord progression, but that cliche chord progression sounds great after a completely unrelated cliche chord progression.
Marty, you always put a lot of emphasis, though, on the phrasing, the particular ways that you will state your melodies in your song.
That is true. One of the things that I've always noticed, loved, and felt weird about in Marty Friedman's playing was how he would always... You'll notice this at the beginning of the Tornado of Souls solo. He actually hits... He intentionally plays the wrong note, and it sounds weird, and it's building up tension, but he bends up to the right note. So he'll go... Hear that? He'll bend up to it. Yeah, Friedman's an amazing player. His phrasing is super weird.
On your solo records, every note kind of has its own character. Every note's played dynamically different. And every time you come around the melody, you play it a little differently. Talk about that, about the dynamics, about playing certain notes louder than others and why that's so important.
You hit on a concept that's very dear to me. And it's something that I'm going to explain very simply now, but in the future, I'm going to do an entire series explaining this, having nothing to do with technique, well, something to do with technique, but how to make a melody sound like it's an artist, and how I play it, it's going to sound like me, but how exactly do you make it sound like you?
Right.
And what I'm going to tell you now is going to hopefully help people decide that.
What I'm going to guess he's going to say is he's probably going to talk about bending or vibrato. Everybody's got their own bend and everybody's got their own vibrato. For instruments and guitar, it's literally as unique as a fingerprint. Like, Zakk Wylde is known for having ridiculously wide vibrato. Like, and he would he'll scrape as in all of his strings, essentially, over and over again, hitting the same note and just going... And then Petrucci has like perfect vibrato, like even down to a metronome. Like, then you've got Vi. His vibrato is like, pushing the note sharp and also moving it around, bending it up and down like normal vibrato.
Like, say I have this melody here that I just played. So that's different from how I just played it.
That's right.
Same notes.
Yep.
So how many options do we have here on the guitar? About 1 million, right?
Yep.
So let's start with the very beginning. So that's one way to do it. Or you could... Knowing the difference between those two things is what's going to make you the difference between a player and an artist.
Right.
You know what I mean?
Wow. That's so well put.
It's so important. It's so
Yes.
incredibly
I
important.
want to be a player.
Because what happens,
and an artist.
all of us are guilty
I
when we're
play-
kids. We want to learn what our
You know what I
favorite
mean.
guys are playing. We want to play it exactly like that.
Right.
Right. But what do you gain from that other than like the fun of being able to play like your favorite hero, which is cool. But that's like a hobbyist's goal. If you're in the world of making music and you want to be an artist and you want people to hear you play and know your name from like B.B. King, he plays one note, you know it's him, right?
That's right.
Brian May. I've been fortunate people have said that about my playing at times.
Absolutely.
So how exactly do you do that?
I never even
You have
thought
to
of
know
that.
the difference
That's what I
between-
want.
And see, my hair is a big influence. If you have hair that stands in the strings like this, you will have that sound. But if you go, they're all completely different. And when you're recording these things, you're the one who has to decide. And so this is like a 2-second phrase. The album's like 45 minutes. Do the math. It's a lot of thinking and it's a lot of decisions. But every decision is important. So like take the next line there. That's simple, but you could go. Do I go?
Wow.
Or do I go? Every single thing is a chance for you to put your stamp on it, and you make the decision. How long do I want to do this? How long do I want to hold this note out? Do I want to end this note here? The sooner
I've
you
never even
get
thought
in
about
the
playing like this.
subconscious habit of always choosing those things, next thing you know, you're going to be making choices that only you could make.
I mean, Marty, I can tell you're playing at any, I mean, I recognize you're playing from one note. I just do. Your solo playing too is just so original, your style. It's always been that way ever since I've heard you play. I mean, in the last 40 years. I mean, I didn't want to say that, but you know, it's like, I can recognize you're playing like instantly. Why is that?
I think it was a conscious effort when I was little, but like as I grew up, it became an unconscious habit to discard things that I've heard other people do. If I've heard someone else do it, I might want to learn it because I think it's interesting and hopefully I can get something from it.
But always through your filter, though.
It winds up through my filter.
Yes.
Either because I'm not good enough to play like that guy, like if somebody showed me...
That's not the case, but yeah.
Well, it could be. Like, for example, if Alan Holdsworth, I remember meeting him, he showed me this big piece of paper with pluses and triangles and stars, and I couldn't get any of it. But like, for example, if he showed me one of his phrases,
yeah,
and he showed it to me, and I learned like 2% of it, that 2% of it would be something that I might make my own. See what I'm saying? It's like you can learn from others, but don't, and when you're a kid, you have that pressure, oh, I want to learn it all perfectly, or else it's not worth anything.
That's me.
If you get anything from anybody else, then it's yours, whatever you glean from it. But then there's the other way. I'm always consciously trying to think of things that I haven't heard other people play in different ways, because we're all doing the same thing.
I have never, ever, ever thought of that. Growing up, learning and playing my favorite band's songs, I always wanted to play just how they did. I would literally go and watch live videos and make sure I'm hitting the right upstrokes on the right upstrokes, the right downstrokes on the right downstrokes, trying to copy everything exactly. And I grew up originally on Hetfield, so I it ruined my alternate picking for a long time, and I'm still suffering from it because I would only downpick everything no matter what. And when I was younger and I first tried to learn battery, I thought I had to downpick the whole thing. I had no idea what I was doing, and I would literally think to myself that I didn't even want to learn a band song if I didn't have the signature guitar of the artist. Like, I didn't want to start learning Pantera until I had a Dimebag guitar. Like, that's how immature I was, and that's how much that concept has bled in. And now, one of my favorite players that I've grown up on, Megadeth, one of the first 3 metal bands I've ever heard, my favorite lead player that they've ever had, is literally telling me to do the exact opposite of everything I've done my entire musical career.
Playing guitar and rocking out and all that stuff, so what can we do that's different? So everybody has to, but everybody winds up having to play blues. So why not think of some interesting ways to play these blues licks, right? So if you're like, everybody does that, right? Why not do it like that instead, even though this was nothing to write home about? But what I'm saying is don't do the ones you've heard before.
Right.
You just do them differently. I mean, it's the same place. It's not any easier or harder.
How have I not thought of this?
It's the same thing, It's the same thing. We're all in this same box thing that we learn when we're 15.
But
right?
Marty, you played.
Wow.
This is what when you and I would play together, all the different groupings, 5s to 7s to 9s, and you would have all these really hip note groupings that you showed me.
Well, groupings, I mean, this is the easy stuff. This is the stuff that when you don't feel creative, why don't we just do some groupings so you have some? Like, take an easy fingering and let's just do an easy grouping. Right? 4 notes, right?
Yep.
And then maybe instead of that, and then put those together. That type of thing. And then you go, that type of thing, right? It takes about 0 creativity to do that. So when you're not feeling creative, just find an easy fingering, like. afterwards, once you have a bunch of cool little groupings like that, you figure out ways to make them worth something, ways to connect them into melodies. But like if you're just like, you're bored and you want to think of something to
Or something you haven't practiced before, or whatever, some way, some new thing that you
yeah,
haven't
and
done.
it does not have to be hard, but it's good to train your brain into thinking of groupings, because often I'll do these groupings on the fly, absolutely new ones that I've never done before.
Yeah.
Because I grew up doing these groupings like this, and you can come up with a million of them off the top of your head.
That was groundbreaking and revolutionary, to say the least, for my playing for the rest of my entire life. I will now completely change everything. John Petrucci has inspired me to relook at tone, and I've been inspired to completely change my playing style by Marty. Now I'm just gonna go about doing exactly what he said, and if I've heard it before, I'm just not gonna do it. I'm gonna do my own thing. I'm going to a guitar meetup soon to learn with other guitarists how to play some old songs like the Beatles and Bon Jovi, and I'm actually looking forward to it a lot. And I think before then I'm going to try to incorporate more open strings into my playing, because I know it helps a lot, and it's really a weakness of mine. I don't know how to do it or where to do it. Sounds like something I could do quickly, and hopefully I could do it before then. If you guys enjoyed this video, please leave a comment, like, subscribe, and watch more if you please. Have a good day, everybody. Adios.